Yes, welcome. I have put out some feelers out there from people who have studied with me and people who didn't know me in reference to what questions they would like to know about Andre Glenn and 360 Combat. And one of the most important top 5 questions that came about was how did I get started in executive protection, and how did I get started in martial arts, and also how did 360 Combat become? How did it become, American martial arts system? So I'll address how to get started in executive protection, which kind of was off the, that's a different story. I was in Atlanta doing a lot of security and training people's kids, some of which was celebrities' kids, because their parents, brought them to me, they was getting bullied. And then I was asked to go on the road with a couple artists. And I didn't feel right by not knowing what I was supposed to know. So what I did is I went to several schools to learn executive protection, what it was, not to just be a bodyguard or just somebody standing next to somebody, but actually know what my job entailed. So I went to several schools, and then from that, I felt comfortable, and then I knew a lot of professional guys like in the Secret Service, things of that nature. So I went back and forth with them as far as techniques and knowledge and what I had, acquired through and go through those different schools. And it just took off from me being from Chicago, growing up, understanding, violence, firsthand, and being able to, you're either gonna fight or you're gonna lose and be punked. And my mom didn't play that, so I had to fight. Plus, I was the oldest. So once I started applying the knowledge I got in executive protection schools, it really took off in Atlanta. If you know a lot of the artists that, it was basically like we came up together, because I moved to Atlanta in 1991 when I was 18 years old. And so the sky was the limit. Everybody was in Atlanta at that time. A lot of music groups, Organized Noise, the Face Records had tons of artists down there. So it was running rampant. And that's basically how I got started in executive protection. Is from training people in the clubs, training celebrity kids, and then actually moving over to doing personal protection and then detail leader for a lot of executives and celebrities in Atlanta, Georgia. I ended up partnering up with several security companies in Atlanta at the time, because a lot of clubs was complaining about, they were getting, the clubs were getting tore up when they had fights and things of that nature. So I got hired at first for the club, it used to became Kaya in Atlanta by a gentleman named Andre. And I had a discrepancy with this club security, and it did work out for the club security, and the guy ended up wanting me to be part of security, and I was like, no, I wasn't interested. And from that point on, he said, hey, why don't you come and I'll just have you be part of security, or have you just kick people out, or some, ain't tearing the club up. And I was like, okay. And then it just went from one club to the next club to the next club. And at that same time, I was actually doing some stuff at a club called the Atrium in Atlanta. And so it went from Kaya to the Atrium to Club Cream to Club Esso for years. So it just went on and on. And then at the same time, I was still training people to do club security, working the door clubs, being I call it a takeout squad, taking people out the club that was very violent, and actually doing executive protection myself. So I had a full plate at that time, and that went on for like 25 years. And I've guarded a lot of people. I've been over 47 countries working executive protection, and actually me doing executive protection actually allowed me to actually go back to these countries and train and teach police, military, and some civilian classes in these different countries. So how did 360 Combat start? 360 Combat started from me growing up in Chicago, me growing up, on 47, and me growing to, living in the projects. People always know about the project. Chicago was rough. I was in Stateway Gardens, on the 8th floor. It was kind of funny. And we moved there. My mom said it was temporary, and it was temporary, But like I tell people, I said, you don't have to be a creature of your environment. And my mom didn't play that. My mom said, we got jumped one day, and I'll never forget it. They took a a loaf of bread from me and my brother. Was walking to the store, and my mom's looking out the window, and she said, "Go give me a loaf of bread for dinner." So we went and to go get this bread, and we came back, and we used to do it in the neighborhood. So a bunch of kids asked where he's from. They surrounded us. They snatched the bread at my brother's house, and they just flew it all over the place. Well, we went upstairs, all beat up and stuff, and my mom was like, she had locked the door, the screen door, and we was like, "Ma'am, can we get in?" She was like, "Where's the bread?" And I was like, "What you mean, where's the bread?" The kids done jumped us. They done took the bread, and she said, she looked at us. She said, "You mean to tell me that's my hard-earned money out there on that ground? Well, I tell you what, you guys can come in here and fight me, or you can go out there and fight them." So you know what we did? We took them bats and we went out there and fought all of them. So that's how things ran in reference to 360 Combat. Was the start in Chicago, seeing people being victimized, seeing people being jumped. That was the creation of, in my mind, where 360 Combat started. Then me being born in Chicago actually gave me the 360 prefix for Chicago on my Social Security number. So it really just took a wholehearted, it was more to me than just, me creating something. And then from that, I was able to just travel the world and study on some of the most dangerous people on the planet, which is a great thing to me. This is before the internet, where I had to write letters and get accepted to be a student. And didn't even speak some of the languages in some of the countries I was in. So when I came back, we looked at the 3 different levels of 360 Combat. Was three zones, which is close range, middle range, and on the ground. That's what I wanted to specialize in. Number 2, the 6. The 6 stands for the boxing and slap boxing, the Sherman karate, 3 styles of jiu-jitsu, and more importantly, the Thai arts from Thailand, legit Chaya boxing, Bull and Barbando, the Burmese boxing, and American wrestling, catch a can, and Sambo. And so those are the things that made up 360 Combat. And the 0 stands for there was 0 rules. There were no rules. This is not a sport that I was going to teach people. This was going to be strictly for combat in the street. Now, I did have a lot of fights in Atlanta where I was paid and we put money down and we fought. Yes, but that was me honing my skills to understand that I could do this. When you saw me in the clubs working in a suit and tie and a long leather trench coat, that was me making sure my techniques was going to work, especially when I was teaching people on how that was going to be saving someone's life, that this actually techniques work. Now, the other question in reference to what does 360 Combat have to offer? And that was another question that had a lot of votes. 360 Combat has so many things to offer people because I customized the tools and tactics to the person. So if you're a person, your arms might be longer than mine, I'm gonna teach you how to work within those restraints. If you got a scoliosis of the spine, a curvature of the spine, I gotta make sure your ability to fight is always gonna be there. Any ailments or things that you bring to the table, I gotta make sure that you can do what you gotta do. I don't want you to look like me. I want you to be better than me. So I want you to be the best person that you can be. And that's what I bring to the table. Whether it's the military Muay Thai or the Jiu-Jitsu. Those are the things that make 360 Combat work because I bring so many different elements to the table. When you're looking at the bigger picture of when someone is training you, and a lot of times when they teach the whole group, it's in a group setting, they teach everyone the same. It's impossible to teach everyone the same because one technique is going to change by the mechanics. If you got a bad knee or you got a bad back or slip disc, things of that nature, the technique is going to change. So I got to make sure, and that's why I've always been doing so many different seminars, but more importantly, I did just private classes because that was my forefront, is me to customize each person had a customized training program. So now that I'm doing big classes, I'm still taking care of the individual in that class by knowing what their strengths and weaknesses are and playing upon that and teaching them how to use that as an advantage, not a disadvantage. So that gives you a little background on 360 Combat. Stay tuned. I got like 80 questions that was asked, and over the next 3 months, I'm going to answer all 80 questions. But this should just give you a little back history on 360 Combat and why I do what I do. And I'll give you a backstory on some of the arts and some of the people I went and studied under. It wasn't about rank for me. It was all about knowledge. And when I went to these individuals, I was, greatly, I still praise the ground they walk on because they give me the ability to walk in places that most people don't walk out of all around the world. And I was able to do that based on the training that I received from these wonderful individuals. So stay tuned for the next installment of that. Peace. Andre Glenn, 360 Combat. Peace.